Gran Turismo 7 is just over a month from releasing on March 4th, and Sony kicked off the game's marketing blitz today with a half-hour state of play dedicated to the title. Before the big show, we also had the chance to participate in a virtual media event and roundtable interview with GT Series creator Kazunori Yamauchi. This is the biggest release of information about the game since our exclusive interview with Yamauchi-san back in September, so there's a lot to cover. Our primary focus will be on newly revealed material in today's presentation, but if you're looking for a comprehensive Everything We Know roundup, see our Gran Turismo 7 guide, which includes confirmed car and track lists. You can find the guide by simply visiting gtplanet.net/gt7 or just click on the link included in the description below. It's worth mentioning that all of the video and screenshots you are about to see in this video have been captured on the PlayStation 5 version of the game. At the time this video was made, no PlayStation 4 screenshots or videos have been released yet. Kazunori Yamauchi's presentation made it more clear than ever. Gran Turismo 7 is first and foremost about cars. As Yamauchi explained in his opening, quote, "The theme is to convey the culture and fascination for cars, the most fantastic gadget of humankind born in the 20th century, to a new generation of people," end quote. The game intends to accomplish this by going back to its roots, paying homage to its ancestors with one of the most fundamental elements of classic Gran Turismo titles, the world map. Ditching the sometimes cold and clinical menus of the more recent titles, the warm and cozy maps gives the game's various features a sense of place. Officially, the map includes locations for driving missions, license tests, the used car dealership, Brand Central, sports, Scapes, world circuits, Gran Turismo Cafe, the player's garage, the legendary car dealership, the showcase, the tuning shop, the custom parts shop, and a multiplayer section. During the presentation, Kazunori Yamauchi reconfirmed that over 400 cars will be available from day one. In the game, you will be able to buy cars from 3 distinct locations. First is Brand Central. This is the equivalent of the classic game's new car dealership, where you can purchase cars built in 2001 and later. Next, we have the used car dealer. It's a place to buy older used cars at more reasonable prices. In our interview, Yamauchi-san confirmed the used car dealer will feature a changing selection of cars every day, just as we've seen in previous games. Finally, we have the legendary car dealer. As the name implies, this dealership will feature extraordinary and historically significant cars. At launch, Gran Turismo 7 will officially contain over 34 locations and over 90 layouts of tracks, which will host over 100 race events. Again, an official track list has not been revealed, but our own curated list at gtplanet.net/gt7 shows you what nearly all of them will be. Each track will have several activities available, including circuit experience, time trial, drift trial, custom races, and meeting place. Although we're still light on details for this new meeting place feature, Yamauchi-san described it as a virtual social space dedicated to the circuit. Quote, "It's like being at the circuit cafe at the Nürburgring. You can imagine it as an open lobby where everyone from around the world will join and you will be able to chat with them at any particular time, and you can drive together as well," end quote. Yamauchi also reconfirmed some more details about weather and time of day simulation on the game's circuits. All tracks will have limited time and weather transitions, featuring morning to evening time progression and weather that can cycle between sunny and cloudy. Wet weather will only be available on some unspecified tracks, with rain affecting both surface moisture levels and temperature, and this will be accounted for in the physics model. Unlike GT Sport, it won't be permanent wet weather. A drying racing line will have an impact on vehicle handling. We have known that GT7 would feature sophisticated ray-traced graphics for some time, but they will not be used everywhere. The game features 2 different graphic rendering modes. First is frame rate mode, which will be used for gameplay. This mode runs at 60 frames per second and does not feature ray tracing. Ray tracing mode is used for race replays, 3D stages, and photo mode. From the sample video provided comparing the two modes, the difference was subtle, if not indistinguishable in some shots. The most obvious benefit of ray tracing was the visible reflections of cars onto each other. There were also a few interesting segments which show a much more realistic diffusion of shadows. As you can see here, the image on the left shows a harsh shadow of a track worker being cast on the side of this Audi R8. With the ray traced image on the right, this shadow does not exist. It's a much more realistic interpretation of what light would actually do in that sort of environment. Although Yamauchi-san has stated the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 versions of the game are equivalent, the PlayStation 5 version does provide a significantly upgraded auditory experience in the form of 3D spatial audio. While GT7 provides the equivalent of a 16-channel audio system by default, the PS5 can render, quote, several hundred channels of speakers using ambisonic technology. Ambisonics is a full-sphere surround sound format which can simulate sound sources both above and below the listener. Ambisonic transmission channels do not carry discrete speaker signals. Instead, it sends a speaker-independent representation of where the sound is coming from, which is then decoded by the user's audio equipment. Yamauchi says the best way to experience this effect is with headphones. You should be able to tell exactly where the sounds are coming from, be it helicopters flying over the track, other cars around you, or the sound of tires screeching below. The atmospheric sounds have also been enhanced. Sounds will reflect off different materials in different ways, depending on the texture and hardness of the surface, creating a more natural ambiance. Another PS5 exclusive feature, we now have more specific details about exactly what sensations are transmitted through the console's DualSense controller, including differences in surface texture, slipping vibrations in the front tires, engine and drivetrain vibrations, and the resonance of the car's body itself. The controller's adaptive triggers will be put to good use as well. In addition to the vibrations induced by anti-lock braking systems, players will feel a unique difference in the weight of the brake pedal between cars. Yamauchi-san spent a significant amount of time discussing the new Gran Turismo Cafe in both his presentation and during the interviews, suggesting it will play an important role in GT7. It will be central to the game's educational features and will encourage players to embrace car culture in a sort of virtual cafe. The cafe's owner, Luca, will be your guide, presenting you with over 30 different menu books explaining various cars in the game. Yamauchi mentioned that some designers of these cars will make appearances in the cafe as you are learning about them, though we will have to wait to find out exactly who they are and how they will actually appear in-game. Clearing all of the menu books will bring GT7 to what Yamauchi described as the game's so-called ending, though he was quick to mention the game does not have an actual end point. Quote, Gran Turismo 7 has no clear ending. I believe GT7 is the type of game where you will get a lot of mileage out of it and discover a new way to play it, even a year down the line. Because we have such a complex system in GT7, the cafe is something that provides a sort of roadmap to the things that you can do in the game. These menu books, they are not going to be hard targets, but they lead the player to understand the different things that you can do in the game, and it's something that will give a better understanding of the world of Gran Turismo. We had the museum that first appeared in Gran Turismo Sport, but this takes it one step further. I think this is important for the future of Gran Turismo as well, for you to see the people that are involved in the industry and the culture of cars." End quote. The return of car tuning and performance parts is one of the most hotly anticipated features of Gran Turismo 7. Yamauchi-san is excited about it too. He described the tuning screen as a mini game all its own, and it's his personal favorite part of GT7. This screen is divided into 3 parts. The left shows you the various indexes of the car's performance, the right shows the settings and options themselves, and the middle allows you to measure the impact of the changes you make, including the impact on the overall performance point value. As Yamauchi-san described in our September interview, the performance point value is not derived from a simple formula, but by an evaluation of the car after it drives a simulated lap in the background. When asked about how these settings could be shared, Yamauchi had an interesting response, noting that the screen had been designed with the use of screenshots in mind. Quote, "The settings can't necessarily be shared through the in-game showcase, but we were careful of how the setting screens are set up now. There are a lot of different details in the settings there, but if you take a few screen captures and share that, you will be able to share settings with friends," end quote. He went on to describe why a more detailed tune sharing feature was not implemented. Quote, "The status of the cars could be different between players based on different aero parts, tuning parts, or performance parts being installed. If we just copied over settings data from a different car, there could be some discrepancies that would not work. That's why we made it so that you can't share it directly," end quote. Yamauchi acknowledged how difficult and intimidating car tuning can be and confirmed that Polyphony Digital will in fact be publishing Apex for free. It's their book on vehicle dynamics originally included in the GT5 Collector's Edition. When the term music rally first appeared in a Japanese promotional booklet for GT7 back in December, we were not sure what to make of it. As it turns out, that was not a typo or mistranslation. It will be Gran Turismo 7's quirky just for fun feature. It's basically a checkpoint style game mode, but instead of racing against the clock, you are racing against the beat of music. You start out with a set number of beats, which are replenished if you make it through a checkpoint in time. As the BPM changes, you will have to adjust your driving to make it through the next checkpoint before your beats run out. The goal is to drive as far as possible before running out of beats, and you'll be able to compete with your friends based on the distance you are able to go. Quote, "In Music Rally, we really just wanted people to enjoy the music. We also wanted to make it so that people who are playing this for the first time, who never played a car game before, or kids playing a car game for the first time, we wanted it to be something that they could enjoy," end quote. Although no official information about this feature has been released, and Yamauchi-san did not take our question about it, a screenshot in the media pack reveals a curious feature called Scapes Movies. This is likely an extension of the Photoscapes feature, which debuted in GT Sport, which allows you to render your virtual cars inside actual photographs. Sport also featured background menu videos which appeared to show your car in motion driving through similarly photorealistic environments. Assuming this feature gives players more creative control over these types of videos, it would certainly be a fun and impressive new feature to play around with. Another unexplained feature in the garage menu is labeled as GIFs, as well as the wishlist icon in the dealership screens. Although this informational blowout for Gran Turismo 7 answered many questions, it raised new ones as well. At this point, we still have yet to see details about the game's online features, although Yamauchi has remarked they will be equivalent to GT Sports with more stability and optimizations. We eagerly await the official car and track lists and more details on Scapes Movies as well. It is also worth noting that the FIA branding is still absent from any GT7 material, suggesting Polyphony Digital's partnership with the governing body of motorsport may be over. With less than a month to go before GT7's release on March 4th, the floodgates are about to open as PlayStation begins the multinational push to promote one of the company's biggest first-party titles. As always, we'll be keeping a close eye on anything and everything Gran Turismo. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep a close eye on our website at gtplanet.net for all the latest news.